Today we're going to be talking about withdrawing your N-400 application for naturalization when your marriage to your US citizen spouse isn't working out. For those of you who are new to my channel, my name is Puyan Darian. I'm an immigration attorney and I do a video on an immigration topic each week. So if you're interested in these topics, be sure to subscribe. This is the situation. So let's say you marry a US citizen, you get your conditional residency, you file your I-751, which is the petition to remove the conditions on your residency, and then 1 year later, you file your N-400, your application for naturalization. But right after you apply for naturalization, things start going wrong with your marriage. You quickly become separated, and you guys are definitely gonna get divorced. In that situation, should you continue with the naturalization application and just hope things work out since you're so close? Or should you just withdraw everything, wait for your I-751 to get approved, and then after 5 years of being a resident, apply for your citizenship? The answer to this question is it depends. So if you've filed your N-400 naturalization application and then you immediately separate from your spouse and your plan is to go into the interview and explain that you're still married and still living together and everything is still in a good faith marriage, that's a bad idea. You shouldn't do that. But being separated doesn't necessarily mean that you're no longer in a good faith marriage. In fact, I have many clients who enter trial separations. They're still seeing a marriage counselor. They're still trying to make the marriage work and going through one of the downs, and then there will be an up and then another down. Arguably, that's still a good faith marriage and you're still married in good faith. But if you're sure that you're not going to get back together and you've begun the process for divorce and your N-400 is still pending, and when I say N-400 pending, I'm saying N-400 is pending based on 3 years of being a resident, not 5 years. Because once you're a resident for 5 years, you don't need a US citizen spouse or to demonstrate that you're in a good faith marriage. So if your N-400 is still pending based on 3 years of residency, and you are definitely not going to get back together, in that situation, I would recommend withdrawing your N-400 application. Then your I-751 should probably be amended as soon as your divorce is finalized. It's going to lead to your I-751 interview where you'll go without your spouse. I have many videos on how to file an I-751 if you get divorced. And if you have any specific questions on how to do that, you could always reach out to me directly. We can go through your case and see how strong it is. And if you need an attorney, I can represent you throughout the process from start to finish. After your I-751 gets approved, which could take a few more years, then I would file your N-400. At that point, you've already been a resident for 5 years and you don't need to demonstrate that you're still in a good faith marriage. I think this is a much cleaner way of doing things in the situations where you're definitely going to get divorced after you've filed your N-400. But before you filed the N-400, you didn't know you were going to get divorced, obviously. One of the biggest mistakes that I see people make, both when they filed the I-751 jointly with their spouse and in this rare situation where you filed the N-400 and shortly thereafter you realize you're definitely going to get divorced. One of the biggest mistakes is that people just kind of try to ride it out even though they're separated. And I think that's a really risky move because at the interview, the immigration officer can ask you specific questions like, where are you living? And if you're not living with your spouse, a big red flag is going to go up and they're going to ask a lot of follow-up questions. And if you try to lie and say that you're still living with your spouse, first of all, that's immigration fraud. Second of all, if you're lying at your N-400 interview, then you can be denaturalized in the future, which means that your naturalization, which is typically the last step of the process, might not be the last step of the process for you if USCIS later finds out or determines that you obtained your naturalization through fraud. You can always lose your citizenship. So you don't really want that looming over you for the rest of your life. I would rather the case be much cleaner. if you're sure that you're going to get divorced, withdraw your N-400 application. You can do it in writing. You can contact the USCIS hotline. You can ask an attorney to help you with it, or you could show up to the interview and just say, hey, I want to withdraw it. We're going through a hard time. I think we're going to get divorced. I don't think I can demonstrate that we're still living together in good faith. So I just want to withdraw my application, do the I-751 process, and then down the road, I'm going to apply for my N-400 and naturalize after my I-751 has already been approved. All right, guys, that was just a quick video on this rare situation where you decide that you're going to get divorced after you file the N-400, but it is also broadly applicable to people who have an I-751 pending, and while it's pending, they decide that they want to get divorced. If you have any questions about it, put it in the comments below. If you need help with a situation like this, reach out to me. I'd be happy to consult with you or represent you throughout the whole process if you so choose. If you're new to my channel, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next week for another one.